massive response. It's not working. Friends, what a massive response. What a select gathering for the last, since yesterday, as we started our inaugural function. I would like to report to the chief guest that we have more than 200 delegates assembled from across the world, from every nook and corner of India. It was probably an amazing response from scholars, from teachers, from eminent writers for such a conference, and that too on working day. Sometimes our chief guest, Dr. Karan Singh, is worried that a large number of delegates are not available for sessions like this. But it was an amazing response. Friends, I would like to introduce the chief guest. In fact, he needs no introduction. He is too well known all over the world to be introduced in a few words. He is an eminent scholar, a thinker, a philosopher, a writer, an organizer, a parliamentarian, and a very good guide, a very good friend, a very good human being. And I have no more words to describe the personality of this rare genius, a rare Indian. Sometimes I say he deserved much more than what was made available to him. But he is not wanting anything as such. As a scholar, he is content with his friends, with his writings. Wherever he goes, he gets an applause, he gets a welcome. He is loved by people, respected by people. I welcome, even yesterday I welcomed the international president of Global Peace Foundation from US, Mr. Finn, a very important organizer. The backbone of Global Peace Foundation, not only in US, monitoring the programs of GPF in a number of countries of the world. I do not know the correct figure, maybe 20 plus countries in Africa, in Asia. And now we have started eyeing this big market of 125 crore Indians. He is very ambitious. I have nothing to say, I have no word of advice to him. But I will openly share one feeling with him in order to have a foothold in India. He should understand what kind of market the Indians go to make. India is different from Paraguay, it's different from Indonesia, it's different from small countries here and there where GPF have had a tremendous success. But when you wish to organize your programs here, probably you require a leader of credibility. And if you are interested in interfaith movement, you will have to identify people who are seasoned players in the arena of interfaith movement. And without that, no amount of infrastructure, whatever be there, ambitious and high infrastructure all the world over, that's good, that's not bad, but that will not cut much ice unless and until he identifies the leaders who can make use of this infrastructure. And it is for him to see, identify who can be his best friends in India. We have in our midst Imam Ilyasi Sahab. He is also too well known to be introduced. Is heading a Muslim organization of Imams, and often it is narrated that it is 5,50,000 Imams organization that he has the privilege to lead. And we wish him success, that he continues giving a new definition, that he redefines and defines a new idiom, the old scriptures, so that they are digested by people of his community and people of other communities as well. Because I find there is a need to redefine them. Although they are classical truths, age-old truths, which have percolated into all scriptures of the world, undeniably true. But I think when you read the ancient scriptures of Hinduism in Sanskrit, you may not get many takers in the market. When you read the Holy Quran and try to impart knowledge of the Holy Quran in Arabic, again there may be paucity of listeners. So therefore I sometimes feel and share it with Dr. Karan Singh and other learned people. There is a need to redefine, there is a need to rewrite, and reorientation of the ancient scriptures is called for. Not that there is any lacuna in them, but then it has to be brought in tune with the latest language that people are capable of comprehending. So I did make an attempt in bringing about a new kind of writing. Not a new kind of writing, but I started writing it in a different way. My book on Bhagavad Gita, and the first edition got exhausted just in 6 months. And I don't know how Penguin Random House came across this writing, and they thought it would be fit to circulate this kind of literature in Europe and in America. Now I think the new edition, the second edition, just after 6 months is going to reappear in the European market and in the American market and other English-knowing people. So it's written entirely differently as it has been commented upon, observed by neutral writers, by neutral thinkers, that it is a different kind of writing. Written by a teacher in a teacher's style, conceptualizing the whole thought, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and not just giving a simplistic interpretation of the shlokas and sometimes broken English and sometimes ununderstandable English. I don't know, but somehow I took a courage to represent that great thought, the perennial knowledge, the inexhaustible truth in a new form, in a new style. We have a learned person from the IASC University, no less than the Chancellor of the University, Shri Kanpal Dugar. I welcome you, sir, in this select audience. And, yes, Professor Rajkumar, I mean, the person who's sitting just next to me, he is Vice Chancellor, OP Om Prakash Jindal Global University. And I have understood it, they are motivated people, they have still kept the masses away from God. Thank you so much. With these words, I invite Mr. Flynn to present a keynote address. I think I've taken more time than what a lot of people say. I think it.
To our chief guest, the Honorable Dr. Karan Singh, and to all of the esteemed leaders who have joined us here this afternoon, to our distinguished participants. It is my opportunity, as we are in this valedictory session or concluding session, to bring not a keynote, but actually to summarize and bring to a focus what we have been discussing as we come together for this concluding session for a most important purpose, because our gathering here and our work here is not simply to have discussions, but we have intended and do intend to carry forth with action as we seek to work together to make an impact here and around the world. And so we have gathered at this convening, Global Peace Leadership Conference 2014, under the theme Peace and Harmony through Interfaith Partnerships. And as Dr. Verma mentioned, we had important discussions addressing identity-based conflict and addressing the need for a global ethic, addressing women and youth and in the peace process, and so forth. In our discussions, we had many important inputs, many important recommendations and experiences shared. But one thing that came up repeatedly was a question, a troubling question for all of us of why we have not been able to make progress, why we're still having these kind of discussions, why we have meetings over and over again to talk about these issues, and change seems hard to effect. I would submit, I think, that all of us would recognize that the experience here and everywhere in the world is reflective of the human experience, the human story. Throughout our history of humankind, we have had the ability to grasp the noble potential and future that lie before us. But as we have sought to realize that noble future, have seen that over and over again, our human frailty and weakness has caused us to fall short and to fail, and to turn away from those noble ideals. And so, to me, this convening, first of all, is for us to come together and to connect with and engage and to seek again that vision and perspective that allows us to seek that noble future. And so we talked about the need for change and transformation. And so I'd like to summarize some of the key things that we talked about with a few key points about this notion of transformation, how we transform ourselves and our families and communities, hopefully then to transform our nations and world. In this era of globalization, more than ever before, our world has shrunk. We have come close together with great opportunity, but with increased challenges. More than ever before, we see identity-based conflict as a serious problem around the world. And it is our conviction that in this time and in this moment we face a moral challenge, that if we can address that moral challenge, that our future is in fact bright. And so first, in terms of the work that we need to do, it is our conviction that vision, principles, and values are necessary for us to continue on the way forward. We discussed and have in the materials for this conference this beautiful logo and two important terms. For us internationally, we talk about one family under God as a simple vision statement that the essence of our common humanity, our shared humanity, our common spiritual heritage, offers for us the ability to have a shared identity, more than race or ethnicity or religion, that we can live together as one family under God. And here in the legacy and history of the great nation of India, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a millennials old ethos that conveys the same kind of idea. That kind of vision is necessary as a starting point for us to keep on the way forward with principles and values to work together to build a world of peace and harmony. We discussed in this convention the importance and need to articulate our common values together, that shared values are us together in our diverse world. And so we discussed the importance of the effort of articulating, clarifying, and building consensus around a global ethic. Having such a global ethic by itself is not enough unless we act upon those values. We heard repeated and echoed throughout our discussions the importance that is not what just the ideas we speak of, but the ways in which we live. And so we discussed here, and we believe it is important that the vision must be owned and lived upon and acted upon by leaders who set the proper example, who set the right precedent. We had discussions oriented around the theme of moral and innovative leadership and the need for that kind of leadership in every society. Just this afternoon, heard from educators about moral and innovative leadership and good character invested in and inculcated in the future generation, the children within the society. Vision, principles, and values acted upon by moral leaders with moral character, with innovative spirit. But still, that is not enough to transform our societies unless we engage and deal with the communities, the villages, the grassroots of every society. We must take action together. We must work together to invest in the future generation and engage the young leaders of this time to create a new future. And those are the dimensions of what we are discussing and working on in this convention. And so, as we come into this concluding session, we're very honored to be joined by the likes of Dr. Karan Singh and other leaders here as we have our concluding session. But as we draw forward, we want to also determine to go forward from here. We are proposing an effort here in India that can help us to build consensus around the notion of a new articulation of a global ethic. Why? Because here in this nation is such a rich history of spiritual traditions, of diverse types that have an ethos here that actually allows for those diverse faith traditions to work together. We believe that here in India is an important base that can show a model to the world of articulating, first and foremost, the essence of the shared values that allow us to live and work together. And secondly, that here in this nation, this robust and nation rich in diversity, we believe that it's also here that those faith traditions can work together in partnership to show examples with young leaders and young people, right, of how those values can be lived and modeled. And then the world is in dire need of leadership and example, and we hope that here in India, you can help us from around the world to see the pathway to a brighter future. We look forward to this important discussion. We are really honored for the inputs that we'll have in this session, and we look forward to a strong conclusion to our convening over these last 2 days so that we can move forward and share responsibility and action for a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. It's a noble idea to transform a man, to transform a family. All our prophets and spiritual leaders wanted to transform man, not to mention many. But Gandhiji had one point of view. First of all, he transformed himself, and then he started transforming other people. That's one thing. Secondly, the great ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius said, if there is peace and harmony in the family, if there is peace and harmony in families, there will be peace and harmony in the society. And if there is peace and harmony in societies and peoples of the world, the whole world will become peaceful. Thank you so much for the inspiration that you have given to us. Now, I will request Honorable Dr. Karan Singh Sahab to please enlighten us, educate us, inspire us, so that we continue such exercise. Dr.
Thank you. Professor M.M. Verma, Mr. James Flynn, distinguished colleagues on the dais, and in this hall, I see very many old faces, people whom I have known for many, many years, and people who have been involved in the interfaith movement for a long time and are deeply committed to it. Friends, we are at a very crucial juncture in human history. On the one hand, science and technology have given us tremendous power for transformation and for destruction. On the other hand, we find that there is a great quest for new certitudes, because old values are disappearing and new are struggling to be born. And we find ourselves precariously poised between a disappearing past and an indeterminate future. At a time like this, we turn to our religions, to our scriptures for some inspiration. And therefore, the role of religions becomes very important, increasingly important. But the problem is that religion has so often been misused religion has so often been distorted. Much that is great and noble in human civilization, art, architecture, music, dance, scriptures, moral codes and so on, can be traced back to one or the other of the great religions of the world. And yet perhaps more people have been massacred and tortured and persecuted and tortured in the name of religion than in any other name. This, we have to admit that religion has a very mixed record in human history. Let us not forget all the horrors that are being perpetrated and that are being perpetrated now as I talk to you today in the name of religion in certain parts of the world. People are being decapitated, people are being blown up, people are being tortured in the name of religion. So simply to turn around and say that religion is something very good, not enough. We really have to look a little deeper into our heritage and see how we can use the great eternal truths of religion in order, as it were, to bring about a positive turn in human consciousness. Friends, there are two scenarios for the future of the human race. One is Arthur Koestler, the European philosopher, who claims that the human race is a race self-programmed for extinction. He feels that there is an engineering defect in the human cortex, whereby the thinking and the feeling elements are not properly conjoined. As a result of which, although we know what should be done, we don't do it. As Duryodhana says in the Mahabharata, Janami dharmam naja nivritti, janami adharmam naja nivritti. I know what is correct, but I am not attracted to it. I know what is wrong, but I am attracted to it. What am I going to do? So this is what Arthur Koestler says, that sooner or later the race is going to blow itself up. And there was yesterday, in fact, in the papers, the article, Doomsday is much closer than you realize. I don't know whether any of you saw it or not. I think it was in the Asian Age perhaps. And they've listed a number of possible doomsday scenarios. But the real scenario is going to be actually as a result of human folly and human inability to grasp the basic concepts of unity. So that's one scenario. According to Arthur Koestler, we're all going to be extinct. The other scenario is Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo was a great evolutionary philosopher, as you know, a freedom fighter, philosopher, extraordinary intellect. And his thesis is that the human race is programmed for evolution. He says that in the same way as life is evolved from matter to mineral and vegetable and an animal life, there is no reason to believe that evolution will stop at human consciousness. The human being is simply an intermediate creature, and the next step in evolution is necessarily going to be what he calls the movement from mind to supermind. In other words, he feels that we will, if we survive that, we will be able to ultimately develop a new kind of consciousness on planet Earth. And he feels that that is really the ultimate goal of the human race. So here you have two very vastly different scenarios. The jury is still out. We do not know who is going to prove correct or not. God knows whether we'll know in our lifetimes or in many generations to come. But it's an interesting thing to realize that both possibilities exist. The possibility of growth exists and the possibility of disaster exists. And that is why we need to revisit our religious heritage. We are talking about the interfaith movement. As you know, the interfaith movement in modern times, if you like, can be said to have begun in 1893 with the first Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago, which, as you know, was addressed by Swami Vivekananda, who made such a tremendous impact there. And then in the 20th century, a large number of interfaith organizations came into being, including the Temple of Understanding, which I chaired worldwide. And the second Parliament of World Religions was held again in Chicago 100 years later, in 1993. I think there are some friends here who attended that. The third was held in Cape Town, South Africa, 1999. The fourth in Barcelona, 2005. The fifth in Melbourne, Australia, in 2010. The next one is going to be held in America. But the point is, these and many, many other, we've had lots of other meetings around the world over all these years. And yet I find that the interfaith movement is still peripheral to human consciousness. Unlike the environmental movement, I was there at the birth of the environmental movement in 1972, when the first UN conference on the human environment took place in Stockholm. I was on the Indian delegation, I saw the birth of that. And then how it suddenly came into the center of our consciousness. And now everybody is talking about it, whether they're doing anything about it or not, it doesn't matter, but they're talking about it. The interfaith movement remains peripheral. And this is somewhat of a disappointment, I must say, having worked in this field for 40 years at least. I find that very often we seem to be preaching to the converted. The same people who are already committed to interfaith, they keep attending these conferences all the time. And we do not seem to be expanding our remit, as it were. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my impression. I think, therefore, that really the time is right for a new thrust around the world to see that religion is not misused. And it is a tragedy that every religion looks upon its God, its divine, as being very beneficent. I worship Lord Shiva, Karpur Gauram Karunavataram, the embodiment of compassion. The Muslims start their prayers with Bismillah or Rahman or Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. Jesus Christ mounted the cross because he wanted to, as it were, obviate or atone for the sins of humanity. The Sikh Gurus also preach the Ek Noor, Ek Onkar, the subject of Upayog. The light, the Noor Elahi, the light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. These are all, and yet in the name of these very religions, horrors take place. Therefore, we've got to try and get back to the. I do not agree that all religions necessarily, all scriptures are necessarily correct. I want to be a little, maybe perhaps controversial, because I think what we have to do is we have to choose the universal. Every religion has two elements, the particular and the universal. And we have to choose the universal elements. For example, let me talk of Hinduism, the religion that I know best. Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. The truth is one, the wise call it by many names. I mean, that is the keynote of the interfaith movement. Those 5 words, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. अगर उसी पे हम चले, उसी को मान के हम अगर आगे बढ़े, तो कोई आपस में बैर नहीं हो सकता, कोई विरोध नहीं हो सकता. Once we realize we have to accept multiple paths to the divine. I'm sorry, there is no soul-selling agency for the divine. There is no copyright for the divine. Who are we, tiny creatures on a speck of dust in this universe, in the endless universe around us? Who are we to turn around and say that the illimitable splendor of the divine can appear only at this place and in this form and at this? How can we say that? There are millions, billions of planets. There may be so many planets that are inhabited. How do we know where the divine has descended? In what way it manifests itself? We cannot tie down the divine to anyone. I can say that for me, my path is the best. But I cannot say that because you do not follow that path, you can be blown up or killed or decapitated. So the first essential, I think, is to realize that the divine. And I want to read a piece from the great Ibn Arabi, the 11th, 12th century great Muslim intellectual and Sufi. And here is what he says, I quote, "Beware of confining yourself to a particular belief and denying all else. for much good would elude you. Indeed, the knowledge of reality would elude you. Be in yourself a matter for all forms of belief, for God is too vast and tremendous to be restricted to one belief rather than another. It's a very clear statement by Ibn Arabi. And if we were to take these sort of universal messages, then we would understand. In the Quran Sharif, I believe it is said, wherever you turn, there is the face of God. That's what we say all the time. Wherever you turn, there is the face of God, the whole pervasive Brahman. Brahme vidam amritam namaskar, Brahma pashchat, Brahma dakshinashturena, adachordham japrasritam, Brahme vidam Vishnu vidam bhaksha. Whichever way you look, there is the face of God. So therefore, we have got to be selective if we are going to reorient and reinterpret our religious beliefs. I talked to the one Ekam Satvipra Bhavata. The second one, Ishvara Sarvabhutaram Hriddeshe Tishtati. The Lord resides in the heart of all beings. That is the belief that this, regardless of race or religion or creed or caste or any such division or gender or sex or sexual preference or whatever, the Lord resides in the heart of all beings. By the very fact of being human, we encapsulate a spark of the divine. And fanning that spark of the divine into the blazing fire of spiritual realization is the true purpose of human life. So, that is another aspect that I can place before you from Buddha. Then, I thought of Ekam Satyapra Bahudha Vadanti. Vasudeva Kutumbakam was mentioned by Mr. Flynn. When you enter Parliament House, I'm not going to talk about what happens in Parliament, that you see that on television, so I don't have to tell you about that. When you enter Parliament House, on the first gate, there is a beautiful shlok. Ayam nija paroveti gananam lakuchetasam udar charitanam vasudeva kutumbakam. This is mine, that is yours, is a small and narrow way of looking at things. For those of the higher consciousness, udar charitanam vasudha eva kutumbakam. The world itself is a family. So what a great concept, thousands of years ago, long before the internet, long before space travel, and long before all these great technological inventions, our seers had this concept that ultimately the world is a family. And it has to exist as a family, otherwise it is not going to exist at all. And finally, for example, a concept like Bahujana Sukhaya, Bahujana Hitaya. The welfare of the many, the happiness of the many. What better definition of socialism or communism or any form of liberal democracy? Bahujana Sukhaya, Bahujana Hitaya. The welfare of the many, the happiness of the many. And that just sums up. These 4 or 5 aphorisms sum up, as it were, a total philosophy of life. And I'm sure the same can be abstracted from Islam, from Christianity, from the Zoroastrianism, from all the various religions of the world. So what we have to do is not, for example, there may be some texts in Hinduism which preach a restricted thing like untouchability. Those are not the texts we want to. Just because they happen to be in our text, it doesn't mean we have to accept them. I'm sorry. We have to choose. I can't turn around and say because such and such a scripture talks about untouchability, therefore I'm going to practice it. I'm not. Or if there's a religion which says that a woman is to be put in a subordinate position, we're not prepared to accept. No woman is prepared to accept an inferior position nowadays. So therefore we've got to choose. That is our task. As if we call ourselves leaders of religious thought, then it is our responsibility to choose the creative, holistic, and positive values from all the various religions. And that is what the interfaith movement is all about. I find we just talk in platitudes all the time, but we don't seem to really get down to the brass tacks of what it is that we have to do. And I think that there are certain very important ideas that would be common to all the great religions of the world. I'll mention just a very few. There are, for example, the idea of human unity, the idea of helping those who are less fortunate, the idea of cherishing the earth. I mean, the way we have exploited the planet is something outrageous. And there again, if you read the Atharva Veda, the hymn to the earth, Bhumi Suktam, that speaks in 63 verses, it gives you a holistic philosophy of ecological values, perhaps unrivaled anywhere else. We've got to cherish this earth. What have we done to it? Is all this global warming that you are seeing, ये जो तूफान आ रहे हैं, ये तबाही जो हो रही है, श्रीनगर हमारा शहर का शहर ही सारा डूब गया, the whole city sank, केदारनाथ सारे का सारा वो गांव ही सारा बह गया. So therefore, we've got to nurture the earth. This is the mother. This is the mother that has sustained us for billions of years from the slime of the primeval ocean to where we are today. And look what we've done to it. That is something we've got to link with. We've got to link with the concept of honoring the feminine. Not only women, the feminine in each one of us. Because it is now clear that there is no clear polarization between the masculine and feminine. Each one of us, our genetic configuration is such that it is simply a matter of a gene here and a gene there. But we must honor the fact. We must honor the fact that the Shiva, the Shakti, the feminine and the masculine, both elements are essential for life to continue. And I'll tell you a story. There was a man who was posted in a country, I'm not going to mention the country. And when he was there first, he noticed that the women were walking 3 paces behind the men. He went back, and then after another 10 years later, he was again posted to that country. And this time he saw the women were walking 3 paces ahead. So he said, you know, I'm very impressed. You've had a social revolution. He said, no, we've had a civil war, and there are a lot of unexploded bombs lying around. That's not the sort of equality that we want. I mean, we want to have people walking side by side. Why should a woman walk in front or walk behind? She's a co-equal partner in the adventure of living. There's no reason why there should be any discrimination on that behalf. So these are the sort of universal values which we've got to embrace. And we've got to propagate through the internet, through television, through education. Because now what is happening is, I do not know how these horror films nowadays, I don't know if in your country, in my country is following your ignoble example, we are also making horror films now. Why anybody should make a horror film, I cannot understand. It should be banned, for God's sake. I saw Frankenstein once when I was a boy and I couldn't sleep for years because of that wretched creature coming out of the cupboard. The point is, there's so much violence. In an American film, you get up, in the first 10 minutes, at least 100 people have reverence for life. खड़ा इसको मारो उसको मारो ये कुछ बदतमीजी है ये क्या तमाशा है what is this? I mean, you know, this has become good. The other day I saw something, you can now see your nightmares with your eyes open. What sort of sick civilization is it that after 5,000 years of civilization we produce something you can see your nightmares with your eyes open? What is this? So therefore we've got to try and educate people. We've got to realize that there must be something which is soothing, which is bringing people together. It may be unrealistic to expect the makers of Kill Bill and horror, and all, bhoot or kya kya, prayers, kahan se nikal rahe. But we've got to try and create public opinion. I'm not by in any sense of the word conservative. I'm very liberal. I love film. For example, I just saw the other day Interstellar. What a beautiful film. I don't know whether you've seen it or not. It's this space movie. It's really 2001 started it. Kubrick's 2001, late 20th century. Then there was Gravity. Now Interstellar, that is really a mind-bending movie. It shows you what science can achieve. So what we've got to do is, again, you can choose your visual technology for positive purposes, you can choose it for negative purposes. It's always a choice. And my submission is that the interfaith movement is designed really to give people, to nudge people towards better, more creative choices. Whatever line of work we may be in education, we may be in politics, we may be in business, whatever. There is surely something that we can do. Because life is not a meaningless journey from the womb to the tomb. It is a unique and remarkable opportunity for spiritual growth. And it's a great pity if that opportunity is lost. And so what I've really come to say is this, that I welcome the interfaith movement. I feel that this is something which needs a little more energy. People like you getting together, organizing meetings in such a way that the message spreads. And we must have a central message. We are not trying to spread any particular religion. We are trying to spread a benign and positive interpretation of religion. So with those words, I'll end with a verse from the Vedas, which is again thousands of years ago. It's a prayer for collective endeavor and harmony. It says, may we meet together, may we think together, may we achieve together, may there not be any hatred between us. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahe viryam garvavahi, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti.
May I, thank you very much, sir. May I request Mr. James to kindly present a plant and a souvenir to Honorable Dr. Karan. Sir.
I'm sorry, I have to go now. I may have to go back through that door in Parliament, into Parliament. So thank you all very much for listening to me.
Dr. Karan Singh is usually the last speaker to speak in a particular session, but he took an exception today. Maybe that he has engagement in the Parliament. Why we ask him to speak at the end? Because he's so profound. We think his words should be the last words. That is the reason that we normally request him to speak at the end. I do not wish to make any comments because we are short of time. Where is Mr. Ashok Bhan?
No, sir.
Oh.
I thought you were speaking more.
No.
Thank you, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, just two things I'll announce before the other speakers take the stage. You have been given a set of papers. Don't be daunted by that. One of them is a resolution. One copy you have to sign and return it to the volunteers. And if it has not come, may I request Dhruva and the volunteers to please give 2 copies of the resolution to each delegate sitting here. And 1 copy is of the anthem, GPF anthem. So that will help you when it is on. So it will be given to you. And now may I request the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Rajkumar, to come to stage. And of course, we are running late also. So that obvious request in a very, very kind, humble word is to restrict our messages, let us say 4 to 5, maximum 6 minutes.
Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for the Global Peace Leadership Conference organizers, as well as others who are here to have invited me to be part of this important engagement. As Dr. Karan Singh mentioned, that we are living in difficult times, and also, as he also mentioned, that we are also living in times when we can adapt ourselves. He talked about the importance of evolution. I am a professor, a law professor and an educator, and I intend to speak a little bit about the importance of peace and harmony through education. I think some of the most fundamental challenges that we're facing with regard to the humanity's inability to address those challenges can be addressed through education, and education is one of the most critical aspects of empowerment. In a country like India, it was also mentioned that what are the values that the youth are being exposed to, and how are we facing some sort of a moral crisis with which we need to respond effectively. Well, I think it is fair to say that we need to look at what kind of education system and educational processes we have with a view to empowering the young people of India as well as the young people of around the world. It is fair to say that at least in the Indian context, if you look at the demographic profile of India, over 800 million people are less than 35 years of age. I used to be 35. I don't think any one of us here is 35. That literally means that a large number of people need to be educated and need to be empowered, and the kind of education that we offer to these young people would significantly matter towards what kind of a future that we can have for humanity. I understand from the different sessions that happened in the last couple of days, there has been a strong emphasis on innovation, on moral leadership, on, of course, corporate social responsibility, on ethics, all of which is critical for developing a society which can address issues of peace and harmony. And I must say that it is quite appropriate that the valedictory session of this important conference is held on the Human Rights Day. Today, as 10th December, is Human Rights Day, and it is also a reflection of the collective consciousness of humanity when we underscore the importance of rights for all. I will mention that one of the big challenges of morality and ethics is reflected quite extraordinarily by a moral philosopher out of Harvard University, Michael Sandel, in his book, which I strongly encourage you to read, which is entitled What Money Can't Buy, The Moral Limits of Markets. Michael Sandel, in this book, What Money Can't Buy, The Moral Limits of Markets, talks about a society in which we have brought ourselves in the situation where everything that we do is up for sale. There is a monetary value attached to everything that we do, and unfortunately the negative consequence of that is two, which is one is corruption and second is inequality. I strongly believe that we need to move towards a situation where some of the values that we believe as fundamental to human existence should not be up for sale and should not have a market value. He doesn't oppose to the idea of a market economy, but what he opposes is the idea of a market society in which everything that we believe in it. And in that context, I must say that we need to actively promote diversity. One of the major challenges of any interfaith initiative, including the concerns that Dr. Karan Singh so beautifully expressed, is the question of to what extent we have brought into fore the importance of certain identities over some other identities. And I think we will do good by referring to none other than Amartya Sen in one of his books, which is broadly titled Reason Before Identity, in which he talks about the importance of human beings engaged in reasoning and not looking at their own sectarian, religious or other forms of identity and putting one identity over the other. In this context, it is important for us to celebrate the human diversity, and this is a great occasion for us to do that. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar. And Professor Rajkumar, if I'm not wrong, is the youngest Vice Chancellor in the country today. Please give him a big hand. All young people. Thank you. Okay, sir. Now, may I request Dr. Markandeya Rai, the trustee, Global Peace Foundation to come and say a few words. Not literally dosha, but yes. इमाम इलियासी साहब।
माफ कीजिएगा मार्कंडे जी, चूंकि मुझे हाँ चूंकि मेरी नमाज की वजह से मैंने आपसे दरखास्त करी। मैं तो अपनी जुबान में कंफर्टेबल हूँ और मेजॉरिटी भी हमारी उसी जुबान की है, तो मैं उसमें ही बात करने की कोशिश करूँगा। आज के इस ग्लोबल पीस लीडरशिप कॉन्फ्रेंस में हमारे जो कि ग्लोबल पीस फाउंडेशन इंटरनेशनल के प्रेसिडेंट मिस्टर जेम्स फिलिंग, इंटरफेथ फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के चेयरमैन डॉक्टर एम वर्मा जी, मार्कंडे जी, श्री राजकुमार जी, मिस्टर आया गोतो जी, मिस्टर कनकमल दुगर जी, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, आज इस बात की बहुत जरूरत है कि हम सब मजहब के मानने वाले एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर होकर और एक ईश्वर की बात करें। कभी कोई दो ईश्वर की बात नहीं करता, हमेशा एक ही बात करता है, एक अल्लाह के, एक ईश्वर की। वो एक ही है, उसमें कोई फर्क नहीं है। आज के हालात में जिस तरह से अभी डॉक्टर करण सिंह भी ने भी जिक्र किया कि आज जरूरत इसी बात की है कि जो मजहब के नाम पर जो चीजें की जा रही हैं, जिससे नुकसानात भी हो रहे हैं मजहब के नाम पर, और मजहब को बदनाम भी किया जा रहा है, जबकि पूरी दुनिया के अंदर अगर आप देखेंगे कि मजहब कोई भी हो वो जोड़ने की बात करता है, तोड़ने की बात नहीं करता। मैं 2007 से वाकया बताऊं कि हिंदुस्तान में ज्यूज, पूरी दुनिया के अंदर ज्यूज और मुस्लिम्स के रिलेशनशिप अच्छी नहीं है, पूरे वर्ल्ड में अगर आप देखें। मगर अगर आप उसको रिश्तेदारी के तौर पर देखें तो ज्यूज क्लोजेस्ट कजन है मुसलमानों का, क्रिश्चियंस, और उसके बावजूद भी इख्तलाफ है। इस पर हमने 2007 में इस पर बहुत बड़ा काम किया। इब्राहिमिक फेथ पर हमने वेटिकन के साथ एक एग्रीमेंट किया, चीफ रेमिनेंट इजराइल के साथ एक एग्रीमेंट किया इब्राहिमिक फेथ पर, और उसके नतीजे आज पूरी दुनिया में हमें देखने को मिलते हैं। मैं पूरी दुनिया में जाता हूँ इसी काम को लेकर, इंटरफेथ के लोगों को जोड़ना, आपस में सारे मजहबों के लोगों को एक साथ रहना, एक साथ काम करना। अभी एक हफ्ते पहले की बात है कि इजराइल के चीफ हॉलैंड की चीफ रबाई, जो कि इजराइल की चीफ रेमिनेंट पे है, रबाई अब्राहम सॉचनडॉर्फ, अभी वो हिंदुस्तान आए एक हफ्ता पहले। उनको मैं एक मदरसे में लेके गया, कारी महमूदुल हसन साहब यहाँ बैठे हैं, इनका एक बहुत बड़ा मदरसा है दिल्ली के अंदर। तो उन्होंने ख्वाहिश जाहिर की कि मुझे उस मदरसे में जाना है। तो वो पहली मर्तबा अपनी जिंदगी में एक रबाई किसी मदरसे में गए और उन्होंने 1 घंटा वहाँ के जो स्टूडेंट थे, मदरसे के जो बच्चे थे, उनके साथ उन्होंने जो वार्तालाप किया, जो आपस में बातचीत किया, इंटरेक्शन किया, दोनों के अंदर किस तरह से मोहब्बत पैदा हुई सोच नहीं सकते आप। जो कि वो रवाई ये सोच रहे थे कि मैं मदरसे में जाऊंगा, मेरे साथ क्या होगा, क्या क्या चीजें होंगी, और जब वहां पहुंचे तो उनको बिल्कुल उलट मिला। इंटरफेथ इसी का नाम है दोस्तों। हम यहाँ बैठकर बातें करते हैं, करनी चाहिए, मगर हम इंप्लीमेंट क्या करते हैं, हमें खुद में क्या करना चाहिए, इसकी बहुत जरूरत है। हमने हिंदुस्तान की 5.5 लाख मस्जिदों से इस काम को शुरू किया, और हमने अपने इमामों से ये बात कही है कि जब तो अपनी मस्जिदों से जब जुमे के दिन या और दिनों में जब हम खिताब करते हैं तो दूसरे धर्म के लोगों को भी बुलाएं और वो अपने हमारी मस्जिदों से अपना एड्रेस करें, जिससे कि उस धर्म के बारे में भी उसको मालूम हो, अच्छाइयाँ मालूम हो। आपस में जोड़ना ये अच्छी बात है, कोई धर्म खराब बात नहीं करता है। तो इससे ये फायदा पहुंचता है कि दोनों के अंदर एकजुटता होती है। अभी आज टीवी वाले दिन भर इसी काम में लगे थे, मैं इंटरव्यू दे रहा था लगातार। वो अभी आगरा के अंदर 360 मुसलमानों को कन्वर्ट किया गया, आज की बड़ी खबर थी। तो हमने कहा कि देखिए, कन्वर्जन तो कहीं भी नहीं है, और जबरदस्ती किसी तरह से कन्वर्जन किसी को कबूल भी नहीं होती है। उन्होंने एक बयान दिया कि गरीबी के आधार पर उन्होंने कन्वर्ट हुए हैं, कन्वर्जन हुआ है। आज इस मुल्क को जरूरत, हमने कहा कि इस बात की जरूरत नहीं है कि कोई आदमी कौन सा मजहब, सबका अपना अपना मजहब है। इस्लाम भी यही कहता है कि लकुम दीनुकुम वलिय दीन, सबका अपना अपना मजहब है। ये हमारे जाती मामलात हैं, मगर हमारी इस मुल्क की जो एकता है उस पर किसी तरह की आंच नहीं आनी चाहिए, इसकी बहुत जरूरत है। हमें आज एक होकर इसको साबित करना चाहिए कि हमारी गंगा जमनी तहजीब बरकरार रहनी चाहिए, इसकी फिक्र होनी चाहिए। कौन किस धर्म में जा रहा है ये अलग बात है, ये तो सबके अपने अपना पर्सनल मैटर है, मगर हमारी राष्ट्रीयता, हमारी भारतीयता, उसको मजबूत होना चाहिए। हमें एक होकर, हमें एक रहना चाहिए, इंसानियत पर काम करना चाहिए। इंसानियत जो है वो सबसे बड़ी चीज है। कुरान के अंदर बार बार अल्लाह ताला जो मुखातिब कर रहा है, इंसानों के मुखातिब कर रहा है, किसी मुसलमान को मुखातिब नहीं किया उसने। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रब्बिल आलमीन, वो पूरे आलम का रब है, उसने रब्बुल मुस्लिमीन कहीं नहीं कही। तो दोस्तों, हमें अभी एक बात कह के अपनी बात को खत्म करूंगा। एक बहुत बड़ा एग्जाम्पल और मेरे सामने आया कि अभी कुछ दिनों पहले लंदन से मेरे पास भाई सरदार महेंद्र सिंह जी तशरीफ लाए, और उन्होंने कहा कि इमाम साहब मैं आपको पटना शरीफ ले जाना चाहता हूँ, वहाँ हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा गुरुद्वारा है। तो मैंने कहा कि ठीक है, मैंने उनको हाँ करी और हम पटना चले गए। मुझे उन्होंने रास्ते तक में नहीं बताया वो मुझे क्यों लेके जा रहे हैं। तो हम वहाँ पटना पहुंचे, रात को वहाँ रहे, और वो मुस्लिम इलाके के अंदर, वो पटना साहिब का जो गुरुद्वारा है बहुत बड़ा, वो मुस्लिम एरिया में है। तो हम वहाँ जाके रात को हमने क़याम किया। सुबह भाई महेंद्र सिंह जी ने मुझे वहाँ गुरुद्वारे में ले जाकर, और फिर वहां मुझे कहा कि इमाम साहब मैं आपको क्यों लेके आया। मैंने कहा जी बताएं। तो वो मुझे लेके गए, क्योंकि गुरुद्वारा दोबारा से शहीद होकर बड़ा बनाया जा रहा है। तो उसी गुरुद्वारे के बिल्कुल मेन गेट पे 2 मस्जिदें हैं, और एक लेफ्ट साइड एक राइट साइड। तो भाई महेंद्र सिंह जी पूरा फंड लगा रहे हैं उस गुरुद्वारे में। तो उन्होंने कहा कि इमाम साहब ये भी तो खुदा का घर है, जो मैं बना रहा हूँ ये भी खुदा का घर है। तो मेरी ख्वाहिश है कि इन मस्जिदों को भी मैं तामीर करूं। मैं आपको इसलिए यहाँ लेकर आया हूँ। जब ये बात मैंने पटना के मुसलमानों को खिताब किया, वहां लोगों को इकट्ठा किया, ये बताया, तो कितना खुश हुए। ये अच्छी बात है, ये पॉजिटिव बात है। हमेशा अच्छी बात करना चाहिए। मजहब सबको लेके चलता है, सबको जोड़ता है। हिंदुस्तान की 5.5 लाख मस्जिदों के द्वारा हम इस काम को आपस में मजहब के मामलात पर, भाईचारगी के मामलात पर, इंसानियत के मामलात पर हम इस पर बहुत काम कर रहे हैं। और मैं एक बार डॉक्टर एम वर्मा साहब को इस बात की मुबारकबाद देता हूं कि आपने हमेशा से एक बड़ी सोच के साथ ये लेके, हमेशा से इनकी एक ही ख्वाहिश रही, क्योंकि इन्होंने, उनको बहुत सारे काम मिल सकते थे, मगर इन्होंने इंटरफेथ पर ही काम किया। इसी को सबसे बड़ा ये अपनी इबादत समझा। इसको काम नहीं समझा इन्होंने, इसको अपनी इबादत समझा कि भाई को भाई से जोड़ दूं, इंसान को इंसान से जोड़ दूं, उनकी हकीकत क्या है उसका मैं बयान कर दूं। आपकी यही सोच है, इसी के लिए अल्लाह ताला ने आपको बनाया है। हमारे जो जेम्स फिलिन आए हैं और ये भी लोग इंटरनेशनल काम लेवल पर ये काम कर रहे हैं। मिस्टर ओयोगोथो, लास्ट टाइम भी मैं इनके प्रोग्राम्स में गया था, बहुत बड़ा आप काम कर रहे हैं, मैं इनको भी मुबारकबाद देता हूं और इनसे मैं कहता हूं कि हिंदुस्तान की जो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, ऑल इंडिया इमाम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज द लार्जेस्ट एंड ओल्डेस्ट इमाम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इन द वर्ल्ड। हमारी जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की जो तादाद है 5.5 लाख मस्जिदें, 500,000 इमाम्स हैं पूरे इंडिया में। तो हमारी तरफ से जो भी ताउन होगा, जिस तरह से भी आपको सपोर्ट होगी, हम हमेशा आप लोगों के साथ हैं। हम सब एक हैं, हम सब, हमारी यही है कि हम सब एक।
मजहब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना, हिंदी हैं हम वतन हैं हिंदुस्तान हमारा।
Dr. Markandeya, sorry for interruption in your train of thought.
Participants, I think it's a great pleasure and honor to take the audience. And now I was searching my soul after hearing many distinguished speakers for last 2 days. That did I right to come to India after 26 years serving abroad, or it was wrong decision. Sometimes it was coming to my mind. But after listening such eloquent presentations, I think again I justified myself, this was right. This is the India which I was looking for. India as a guru for the world. I think the gist of every message here was that after this presentation, after this forum of 2 days, where we are going. I think Jim Freeman also mentioned about the platform, about the vision. When we are listening to Dr. Karan Singh, he was also talking about movement. This is a movement or this is one-time event where we are going to, and we should trust. I think time has come, and today's presentation with the principals of teachers and many of the schools where Professor Pandey was chairing, I was really touched how we are talking about inclusiveness, how we are talking about open education. Only one thing is that we should not leave this conference here. We should become the ambassador of peace. Go from here as a leader. Make sure that you are responsible for it, nobody else. Then only this purpose will be fulfilled today. Otherwise, it will be like other sessions. My purpose for today is, I don't want to take much time, and I know that there are many speakers. People are talking about human rights platform. People are talking about today in some of the presentation, global parliament. People are talking about what UN has done to honor women. I think UN was mentioned several times today, from morning till now. Perhaps time has come not to invent a new way, rather to see how we can transform, reform, and might have a very humble presentation and a proposal how you can play an important role, including whatever we are talking today about peace and harmony through partners. Because that is a global parliament, that is the intergovernmental body, that is also thinking how to reform since last century, last decade of the last century, when Kofi Annan was mentioned today about, he talked about faith and how the powerful prayer is when he was in trouble in the second term. Perhaps UN is the body which was created after the Second World War and has done a lot of things, at least has achieved not Third World War. And I am giving a proposal which I will ask for your suggestion and perhaps declaration which we are talking today should go up to the Secretary General of United Nations what the civil society is thinking of. Otherwise, it has no meaning. It should go to all international organizations, including the UN Secretary General. That the civil society today in New Delhi on the Human Rights Day decided and resolved this one. And that will be the message to the United Nations and to the global and international bodies. I think second one is simple thing that it is not we are talking today. When I was sitting in Doha coming from US and I saw a paper and before that one I saw 2 days before on Sunday the Times of India. The German ambassador in India, Michael Steiner, was celebrating 65th birthday and he didn't invite a party, he invited Ravi Shankar. Ravi Shankar was asking Sri Ravi Shankar, let us call me Sri Ravi Shankar with honor. He was also talking about everywhere there is a crisis of identity and we should talk about inter-religious dialogue and interfaith dialogue. And I will quote Steiner, the German ambassador to India. If I had to name one country where wisdom originally come from, I would name India. Shall we not be proud of? Not for ourselves. A German ambassador is saying on his 65th birthday in the presence of Ravi Shankar and those he asked all questions you can see in Times of India as there is no need to be. And what Pope said, same day, 28th November, Pope was talking in Turkey and he was saying, Pope Francis was saying that inter-religious dialogue more than just military action was required to combat Islamic State militant blah blah blah. But most important thing is, this is what everybody sitting everywhere in the world is thinking about dialogue between inter-religious, interfaith people. And that is what I am thinking, that time has come when the whole world is discussing about the future we want. 2015 development agenda is about to be created, a lot of dialogue is going on between the government, civil society, everywhere. We should take lead, even the teachers, like Professor Pandey, should take lead to engage young people what they think about the future, because this is their future. And that should go up to the message to the New York before the General Assembly this year. And maybe next year, because the General Assembly is still going on, but next year when it opens, we allow the young people to express their views and opinion. And I was involved many times in UN to organize the youth to send up to New York to talk about what they think about the world. Perhaps time has come when real prosperity is being discussed and new development agenda is coming. The whole interfaith dialogue, interreligious dialogue, and their position, and their role, and their leadership should also be recognized in that. Because simple reason, what Pandey is saying, I don't want to repeat, he just want to say that nobody should be left behind. And if nobody should be left behind, means everybody's voice should be heard, including the civil society, and we are here. So I will not read all, but simple I think what is the United Nations, how it was created simply to the world. It was created after dialogue between Churchill and Roosevelt. And that time the 5 countries were the leader to take winning the Second World War. That's why there was compromise. There should not be a global parliament, General Assembly only, there should be Security Council also. But everybody has realized the Security Council is not democratic. Veto power is not democracy. And that's why many countries like India, Germany, South Africa, everybody is claiming that I should be member of that Security Council. And you can see that what the historian, this Paul Kennedy is saying about United Nations, about the conflict and about the dialogue between the churches. I don't want to read because time is not no side. But all said and done, it is a remarkable existence, historically unprecedented. US may be inefficient, but they kill fewer people than the impartial regime, imperial regime, and they replace. Simple thing is that to make the time has come when UN has worked for so many years from 1945. It was created in June, and it was signed in June. The charter need to be reformed. Charter need to be reviewed because after serving so many years, the charter may not be appropriate for the 21st century. And charter says very simple thing, not the government. The preamble of charter says, we the people of United Nations. Everybody is United Nations. Everybody has said, only your head of the government and the country is participate only because everybody can't go to the public, to the General Assembly. So somebody has to represent the country. But I will not read all this one, but this is a preamble of the Charter of the Nation, which talks about how what we should do, the rights, other things. But at the end, it talks about democracy. It talks about culture. It talks about religion. It talks about interfaith. And the power of interfaith has been recognized. Many of the UN agencies are inviting the interfaith people, like UNFPA, UNESCO, UNICEF. They have realized the power of civil society and interfaith people in addressing the global problems and issues. So we should not shy away, and the GPF interfaith organizations should take lead and to say that time has come when there should be a review of the Security Council and the civil society should be part of that. My proposal is simple, that it should not be called Security Council. First thing is that United Nations was created for four things: peace and security, economic, social development, human rights and humanitarian affairs, and international law. These are the four pillars for which United Nations was created in 1945. And globalization has been talked, that's why I put in this slide what is the UN role in globalization and UN role in how to prevent climate change, global warming, so on and so forth, which all of you know. There's no need to repeat that one, and these are the Millennium Development Goals. But most important thing I'm coming, how to reform the Security Council and how to propose the UN Peace Council. I'm not able to move my slides. The culture. I think this is my 90 statement. In 2005, World Summit, somebody was mentioning about terrorism today. I think terrorism was also not defined before 2005 when World Summit took place in New York, and George Bush was the president. I was attending on behalf of UN. At that time, the terrorism was defined. Otherwise, many of the movements were called terrorism. It was very difficult to define what is the freedom movement, what is the national movement, what is the social movement, and what is the terrorism. So I think most important thing that UN recognizes the religious and cultural diversity throughout the world, and they recognize the interfaith people also. Because why? Simple reason why the interfaith people are recognized, because people listen to them, people respect them more than the politicians. Nowadays, the people who are religious leaders, interfaith leaders, people listen to them because they believe in that. And my last proposal is UN is you, which I had mentioned, that the strength of UN is that include everybody without commenting, without all infrastructure capacity, everything international discourse would be crippled. The UN is essentially a world peace and security. And finally, I will talk about the UN reform. Reform is simple, because you see, a meaningful UN reform is really needed. Kofi Annan started, but it didn't materialize, and now time has come when we talk about the charter, what reforms should take place. Reform should be the Charter of the United Nations. And world interfaith harmony, you can see that, not that you are starting new thing. In the support of many places, in 2010, the General Assembly took a resolution, and first week of February every year is called Interfaith Week. King Abdullah of Jordan was the really forefront, and he mobilized the support, and this was created. Now you can say that Ban Ki-moon is also supporting interfaith movement. And now UN Peace Council should consist of 2 chambers. I'm just presenting because I need your support also, because this can be not only support, your criticism also. There should be one political chamber which is called Security Council, where there are 15 members, 5 are permanent members who have veto powers and 10 members are elected. I am proposing that 15 members should be reduced to 10 members. 5 permanent members without veto power and 5 members from bigger geographical regions like Africa, Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, Western Europe and North America. Those 5 members stay, and there should be another chamber, like in Parliament, Indian Parliament, we have upper house and lower house. Lower house people are elected, but upper house people are nominated. So in upper house should be called the interfaith chamber, where there should be equal number of representatives from major interfaith religious groups, which will be challenged and it can be inaugurated by legal people from interfaith people. And then the president and vice president should be rotational basis for 2 years. Because the president is from the political chamber, vice president should be from the upper house, means elected chamber, and vice versa. And president should vote only when there is a tie. I'm just coming out to what is this opportunity. Opportunity for GFF, all of us, is to participate in post-2015 development agenda. Process should start that we should become the member of the Economic and Social Council. Only then you have the voice. And through Economic and Social Council, we should put pressure. On the next conference is coming, World Summit is coming, that is almost a peace conference. We should participate and we should make sure that Habitat 3 is successful in Latin American country, and connect with the interfaith group to promote the Peace Council in United Nations. And this is golden rule. We are talking about what universal rule. I think golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. That is the most important thing. That covers everything. And universal principle and values should be promoted as a common denominator to unite the humanity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, may I request Shruvaji? Mr. Aya going to represent. Please present the plan to Dr. Martin. Yeah. You can save time. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request now the Chancellor of ISD University, Shraddheya Dhruva, to please come and say a few words.
Thank you, Pandit. I think when everybody was finishing his talk, he was going out. But when I'll finish my talk, everybody else will go out. Anyway,
Please close the doors.
respected. No, I don't bind you for that. Yeah, if anybody wants to go out, you can freely do that. Respected Mr. Flynn, Professor Verma, I don't now address everybody, but the peace-loving elite of Delhi here. I thought with changes of program, I won't have to come to the podium, but anyway, thank you very much for calling me here. First of all, I'd like to compliment Professor Verma for the name that he has given to this program. We have had a number of programs of interfaith cooperation, interfaith coordination, interfaith dialogues, and so many of these. But this partnership word has made it more sensible and more meaningful. Because partnership, each other's profit and loss are common. This is a durable relationship, and which is what we want it now. Second thing I just come to mind, that Indian philosophy has always done that. We can find, as Dr. Karan Singh has rightly told and very enlightened scholar he is, we can find in every scripture we can find the thing. In Upanishads, there is a line, Shlokarthane pravikshami, yaduktam granthar kotivi, atmana pratikulani paresham samachari. What is, you don't like to yourself, don't do it to others. In half this slope, he has completed what millions and millions of the scriptures tell it. A number of other places also, the Gita he has quoted several times. But one thing more I want to tell you, that is, he has told that there are two different theories. One, human race is programmed to self-destruction. Another is Sri Aurobindo's theme of human race is for transforming itself to divinity. Well, I think the direction which we are looking at now is for Sri Aurobindo's. This has been told before Aurobindo by Swami Vivekananda, that man is the incarnation of divinity, all things you have to bring it out. Again, the same thing was told by a number of these preachers then afterwards. Swami Satyananda of Bihar School of Yoga, he has very strongly said that. Now I tell you why I am telling it. Because in my college days, in 50s, in my youth days, in my businessman days, I have never had attended these conferences and these things here. This is a new arrival here. Between the society, the elite people, the thinkers, the academicians, they have started realizing the need of interfaith, this partnership. And this thing, because, gentlemen, I can tell you, any action starts in the brain first. And this action of peace and harmony started in our brains. It is going to be translated in action. And it is definite, and I am telling you very sure of that. Personally, I am very sure of that. Then, about interfaith, something I want to tell you. Because faith is such a thing which is now just only limited towards religion. But faith is the fulcrum around which all our relationships revolve. If child has a faith in his mother, so with the faith, the affection starts. In the family, we have faith with each other. So faith is interfaith. Of course, we think of it as religious cooperation. But then faith is the thing which, if given a positive trend, can do wonders. And there also, I would like to tell you one thing. I was just a few minutes earlier, I was talking to somebody. I told them that faith in the family, faith in the community, faith in the country, more than that, we should have harmony and faith within ourselves. It has already been stated, I won't elaborate that. So, now, just a few words about what we are doing there. My institution, Gandhi Vidya Mandir, which is a sponsoring body of IIT University, that started in 1950, and the first lesson, I am from the first batch, started with the value education. Although the name was Dharma Shiksha, religious education at the time, because value education term was not coined. Subsequently, it's converted into value education. Now in the university, we have a full-fledged department, and Dr. Pathak is the director of the department of value education. We are doing on that. Professor Verma, again, Professor God, number of people I am seeing. This university has constituted 6 research chairs, and these chairs, they are doing research on harmony through religion, harmony through technology, harmony through journalism, harmony through philosophy, and so on and so forth. So this research is going on. I think within the next 1 year, we'll complete our set and we'll publish it. Another thing that we are doing is the Institute of Global Harmony, IGH. I think here my friend Professor Raj Utreja has spoken there, and I won't like to repeat that, but this is one full-fledged institution which is going to teach just peace and harmony, even not only to the students of school and colleges, but also to the educators. And we are just going to start from other way around, starting from the educators to coming to the schools. That is what we are planning to do. So with all that, I don't want to take any more of time. I think after that, as I told you, we are going to leave the house. So I thank you very much, and I thank the organizers for giving this time, and I hope this idea will travel very long, and very soon we'll see it in more solid transformation, more solid work, and more solid these organizations such as Interfaith Foundation and this Global Peace Foundation. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Please, could you bring the plant and the souvenir? I request Mr. James. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you have been now given the title of peace-loving elite. So I have request 3 very important things are left. One is the peace resolution will be read out to you. The second, vote of thanks. And third is the peace song of Global Peace Foundation. And I hope all of you will join us in all those 3. I think those 3 are the most important aspects of this 2-day conference. Thank you very much. May I request Ambassador Jain to kindly come and read out the peace resolution. May I request Mr. Joshi here and Vishal, could you please be at the gate whenever somebody is going to take the signed copy of the resolution, please. These 2 volunteers are there. Please, sir.
Distinguished guests, I know the time is almost up, but I think before concluding this conference, it might be a good idea to adopt a declaration which would bring out and summarize what all you have said and contributed to the discussion on, to the very meaningful discussion on interfaith partnerships and how to evolve them, how to put them in practice. This has been a wonderful conference, a truly international conference in the first place. Secondly, here you have a beautiful sangam of an international interfaith organization, Global Peace Foundation, working in collaboration with leading social activists in India, with leading interfaith organizations, leading educators like IISc Deep University or Alon International School. It's rarely that educationists and social reformists as well as peacemakers, peace builders come together and agree to work on a common program of social cohesion. What should we, how should we do it? And we thought that it would be wise and be prudent to adopt a declaration on what is our vision, and along with vision, what is our concrete program of action. If we are going to depart from here, we are not going to depart for yet another conference. We are going to depart from here to take up common programs on a common platform, which will be facilitated by all our coming together, so that we will go global, we will go local, we will go local, so that we can do peace building and cohesion on the basis of a cooperative, joint, collaborative endeavor and not a competitive endeavor. I will read out to you quickly what we wish to adopt today in the declaration on a vision and global framework for one family under God, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Preamble. The world today faces a spiritual crisis. The world today faces a spiritual crisis as evidenced by the continuous rise of identity-based conflicts. These conflicts over nationality, ethnicity, religion and tribal affiliation create a social fabric at every level in every country, especially with globalization expanding the reach of previously localized challenges. While tremendous advances have been made in every sector of human society, they have failed to keep apace with our moral and ethical capacities and potential, to the detriment of all life on earth. It is thus imperative that moral and spiritual leaders of the world, along with social activists and interfaith organizations of the world, work together to articulate universal ethical principles
and values that can form the basis of social cohesion, shared agreement, and lasting peace. Whereas human ingenuity, intellect, and creativity have been through the past millennia built civilizations that have inspired human hearts and minds to create, to pursue creative endeavors. At the same time, the world has been plagued by intolerance, ignorance, hatred, mistrust, discrimination, and ravaged by ethnic, racial, religious, economic, social, and political conflicts. Whereas religion and faith have been fountain springs of spiritually inspired ethics, at the same time, religious rivalries and ethnic conflicts have spread intolerance and violence, thus obscuring the unifying vision of humanity as one family under God. Whereas tremendous technology have created unprecedented material wealth, technological and medical advances, at the same time they have been misused for producing nuclear and other weapons of mass destruction and a rampant armament race with tremendous allocation of resources that could be directed to overcome poverty, inequity, disease, ignorance, illiteracy, hunger, and development. Whereas different religions have promulgated the idea of the world as one family under God, we have not carried it out in practice. Into this vacuum, the possessive, exploitative, abusive, and discriminatory instincts of humanity have unfortunately divided our world. Whereas in modern times, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have courageously and effectively used non-violent strategies gaining political independence, ending apartheid, championing compassion in action, fighting racial discrimination, and tirelessly advocating multiculturalism. At the same time, the world has drifted towards escalating violence and terrorism. The world has lost hold of our common human identity and the unifying shared values that can bring about a cohesive society. In the light of this preamble, this conference has come to the following conclusion in the form of a pledge. All this preamble which I have read out to you is indeed a summary of all that you have said in all the 8 sessions that have taken place, where scholars, peaceniks, and young boys and girls have spoken and articulated these views. So this is a very democratic declaration. I come to the pledge. On the occasion of the Global Peace Leadership Conference held in New Delhi, India, on the 9th and 10th of December 2014, we, the participants from all over the region and the world, solemnly pledge, number 1, to commit ourselves with courage and resolve to forge vibrant and meaningful interfaith partnerships and programs for promoting universal social cohesion based on our common identity, universal principles, and shared values to overcome ethnic, religious, gender, social, and cultural barriers. This is a call for a collaborative effort, not an effort on the part of one organization. It's a collective call for a collaborative action. Second, to inspire a spirit of unity and conciliation in place of conflict and confrontation, equity and fair play in place of inequity and exploitation towards all human beings, irrespective of color, gender, creed, religion, ethnicity, or geographic location. Third, to engage faith leaders and academics, in the task of articulating a global ethical framework based on universal principles and values found in the world's religion. This framework could then be applied to private and public spheres. Fourth, to establish the means through which a global ethical framework can guide substantive discussion on forging cooperation on shared aspirations and values among faith leaders. This is what would need further discussion among different faith organizations. To persuade faith leaders to play a more significant role in educating and encouraging their followers towards the lifestyle of service to others beyond the narrow boundaries that presently divide the various religious communities. This is a call for going beyond mere religious affiliations. To transmit these ideals through a multi-sector network of leaders and encourage its implementation, starting at the grassroots level of this extended family. To design and implement innovative interfaith grassroots projects in healthcare, education, disaster relief, poverty alleviation, enhancing employability, environmental care, drug addiction elimination, and promotion of family values as the common ground for action-oriented interfaith partnerships. To collect, collate, and determine the best practices through various case studies of interfaith initiatives with partnering countries and share on a global stage. Here is an invitation to all of you, the leading interfaith activists, to bring out your case studies where you have been successful so that they can copy all over the world. To undertake with vigor and persuasive endeavor through specific projects the task of inculcating in all sectors of the society, particularly among the youth, the ethical and moral values of compassion, piety, charity, generosity, and integrity. To encourage and mold the youth, in value education and create programs that foster personal transformative experiences. The kind of discussion we had today in the special session on transformative leadership at the youth level, where leading educationists put their thoughts, which we have tried to summarize in this recommendation. To enrich the academic education of the upcoming young generation in schools and colleges through shaping a mindset that values integrity, equity, and fair play. That is exactly what was brought up in the session this afternoon. To support and encourage projects aimed at women's empowerment and emancipation through skill development, particularly of tribal and backward communities. To establish links with select civil society organizations already engaged in peace-building work, to create a coalition of global partners, working towards a shared vision for peace and prosperity. It's about time, it's really about time that we have a global partnership so that we can exchange views between different countries and have shared experiences and shared experiments which would succeed. Finally, to encourage the expansion of socially responsible business practices and corporate social responsibility, CSR, especially in terms of accelerating support for social cohesion programs. Again, on this very special subject, a very special seminar was held as part of this conference, wherein there was a collective, collaborative discussion between leaders of industry as well as leaders from the academic world as well as the NGOs, leading NGOs. This is a very good beginning and we need to keep it up in order to provide a new meaning to corporate social responsibility beyond the meaning given to it by the Companies Act. Companies Act simply makes it mandatory. We want to make it voluntary but meaningful. And as such, this unifying vision of one family under God will spread through the various sectors of society for the greater good of all humanity. This is the conclusion of all excellent discussion. I would request you to adopt it with a clap of hands.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very patient, eloquent resolution reading. I have not heard any resolution read so eloquently in any other conference. Thank you, sir. And now I request Dhruva to please bring a souvenir, and I request Mr. James to present it to Ambassador Jang. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, the children are ready here for song, and all of us will join. But before that, Mr. Aya Gojo will come and propose a vote of thanks. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And one more very important announcement. The organizers have put a very nice poster for you, and all of you can sign as signatories to this resolution, though you are given a copy also. But that poster will become part of the future Global Peace Foundation's activities, and certainly it will be a very, very precious souvenir for all of us. Mr. Aya Gojo. Shorter is better.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
So from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to recognize and appreciate all chief guests and guest of honors and speakers, chairpersons, and most important, my brothers and sisters, and co-organizers and sponsors, and especially I want to recognize tirelessly working committee members, heading up, led by Dr. Verma. Thank you very much. He formed a very beautifully impressive team member. So to save the time, I don't want to mention about the name. So thank you very much. Anyway, I believe India is the best place to create model case of interfaith works, clarifying the universal principles and shared values. Not only that, developing grassroots movement, especially by youth. All your effort will be substantiate the vision of one family and God. Let us make peace and harmony through interfaith partnership under the vision of one family and God. Thank you very much.
Now I request Professor Verma to present a souvenir and plant to Mr. Aya Gojo. Ready? Start the sector. So you saw the felt sentiments of Aya Gojo, and Professor Verma wants to reciprocate that, and therefore one couplet, only one.
बहादो प्रेम की गंगा, बहादो प्रेम की गंगा, दिलों में प्रेम का सागर, बहादो प्रेम की गंगा, दिलों में प्रेम का सागर, हमें मिलजुल के आपस में प्रभु रहना सिखा दे।
And now the Global Peace Foundation's anthem and the students' theme song, and this will be displayed here, and the lyrics are there on your table also. And once they begin, probably they can join. You will give a signal for joining, or what will you? You will give the signal. Okay, fine. And then they will all have this time. Okay, fine. Please begin. Start.
starts with our knowing we are one family under God. Not just body but spirit, on and on we try to be people who live for others, for love knows no boundaries, no religion, no barriers can keep us apart. Forgiveness through understanding. This is how it all starts. This is where peace begins. Every song, seeds of love. It all starts with our knowing we are one family. We are one family under God. Under God, we are one. This is where peace begins. Every song, seeds of love. It all starts with our knowing we are one family. We are one family. This is where peace begins. Every song, seeds of love. It all starts with our knowing we are one family. We are one family under God. I can't hear you. We are one family. 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 We are one family.
Thank you.
We are one family. We are one family under God. One last time, please, everyone. We are one family. We are one family under God.
Give big hands to the students of the Alcott International School.
We are one family. Wonderful song.
वेट सर वेट ऐसे ही खड़े रहना जी
तुम भी आ जाओ. It's like a big family. Yes.
Could you please start on your toes? Those who have
चलता रहना
please, everyone. Yes, yes. Please sir, front. सागर सर बीच में आ जाइए यहाँ पे बीच में
आइए
थोड़ा अंदर भैया वेट सर वेट और पीछे चले मैं 2 फोटो
ये फोटो आनी चाहिए.